Knives I carried into combat. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So what we're going to talk about today are the knives that I carried into combat. So my military service started when I was 19 years old. I joined and enlisted into the United States Marine Corps. I think it was 1992 is when I was actually accepted, and I went to boot camp. Through that time, I have spent it in many different countries and many different hotspots and many different areas. You name it, I've been there. You know, I love my United States Marines. Semper Fi to all the Marines that are watching this video right now. We just had our 20-year anniversary for Task Force Tarawa. That was the one that was in Iraq. Now, I didn't spend all my time in service on active duty. I had active duty. I got out. I came back. I went into the reserves. And with my reserve time, we actually got activated. And guess what? We went right back to active duty. So I stayed approximately a little bit over 10 years between services. I finally got out or ended my term with the Marine Corps in 2005. All right. Within that tenure, a lot of the equipment, a lot of the things have changed, and I wanted to pursue other careers. So nothing bad to say about the Marine Corps, and I love that the Marine Corps is still rocking and not lowering standards. They're not doing all that stupid shit. So I'm really, really satisfied that our military service has not gone woke, quote unquote. That being said, I have a bunch of awesome made knives here. A lot of these knives that you see on this table were used or they were issued, and I was able to procure them either while in service or after service. If I decided that I kind of liked it and wanted it, I would go out to the PX and purchase it, or what I would do is go to Amazon or something like that, or eBay, and try to find one. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the camera, but before we do that, all the stuff that I have on this table will have Amazon links down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you purchase one of these knives from me, I'll get like 2 cents on the dollar. I appreciate that. As you guys know, I actually make knives, so a lot of these knives that you see on the table are older, but I make knives now. So if you're interested, go to threeriverblades.com. Also check out Three River Kydex for Kydex products. I'll put all the links down below to all my other stuff. So enough messing around. Let's drop the camera. All right, guys. So throughout my service, these are some of the things that I've carried. Some are brand new because I've lost them or broke them. And again, I'm kind of a creature of habit. But one of the most formidable and one of the best tools that I've ever purchased by myself, because I can never get one of these out of the armory. Somebody always took it before I got a chance to, was just an Ontario 18-inch machete. All right. Very, very simple design. There's nothing fancy about it. It is a thicker machete than, let's say, a Tramontina, or the ones that are, jungle machetes, the ones that you use in El Salvador. It is a little bit thicker, I think, because the U.S. military, especially the Marine Corps, likes to break their shit. So what we decided to do is come up with something a little bit heavier. It is made by Ontario, I believe. Yep, Ontario Knife Company. And you could still buy these. All right, these are readily available. You can get them on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. The only difference is that instead of the crappy OD green sheath, I got one of the Rathco polymer ones. All right, these are pretty decent. They'll hold your blade. They do have drip holes, so you don't have to worry about your machete getting all rusted. And all I did was put some Ranger bands with a little bit of I put some Ranger bands with a sharpening torpedo and a little bit of 550 cord. All right, this is made for the old style this is made for the old style Alice clips, but I don't think you need to use that anymore. I just kind of attach it to my pack. All right, that's kind of what I was using it for, clear and brush, that kind of thing. And what's cool about it also, it does have a sharpener on it, so that's kind of neat too. And again, you could still buy these on Amazon, and it makes a really good jungle clearing kit. All right, so I like that. All right, anytime you have a machete, you should have a sharpening stone or a way to sharpen it, because it's going to get dull really, really quick. All right, so that's one. I've always purchased this, and I did carry this, and I put it on my Alice pack. I'm a big fan of that. When I first started my Marine Corps career, this is what we were issued. I think I even did a couple combat missions with this stupid thing. This is the USM 8A1. You can still find these on the secondary market. It does have a belt loop here, so if you want to put it on your belt, you can do that, and it also works with the Alice system. All right, so that's kind of what this was designed for, and this is a bayonet. Now, these bayonets have been around for a very, very long time. I think since Vietnam, maybe the 70s. They are carbon steel, but they are also coated. I want to say some type of coating on it, and it comes with this fiberglass style sheath. Very, very sharp. You can make these things super sharp, and I know a couple guys that actually hurt themselves really bad with this because, you know, that nasty MRE that they had to open right away. They just wanted to use a bayonet instead because, you know, Marines are Marines, and that's what we do. So it is a good knife for bayonets, but I mean, it's a good product for bayonets, for sticking in people, that kind of thing. You know, self-defense knife, has a nice guard, and it does fit on your service weapon. That's what this is for in the back. You just slip it on. But it's a terrible field knife. It is way too thin. Any type of pounding, it's probably going to break, particularly in this plastic handle area. It is very comfortable. It's not that bad. But again, most of the times we carried these, I put this in my pack because it was serialized gear. And anybody knows that served in the military that if you lose serialized gear, you're definitely going to get in trouble. So if I didn't have to actually have this on my belt, I'd probably carry one of my K-bars, and I put this somewhere safe and kept it from rusting. But again, if you're out in the field and you're asked to fix bayonets, it's probably a shit show anyway, and I don't think you have to worry about getting in trouble if you didn't have it, because if you had to fix bayonets in the field, shit already went sideways. So, OD green, color strapping, OD green, fiberglass, very heavy metal carbon steel bayonet, and again, that's the USM 8A1. All right, so pretty decent, but again, not the best field knife. Somewhere along the way, they tried to up the game or up the ante, and this is what they came out with. All right, this is the M9 Ontario. Really, really nice bayonet knife combo. However, the weight on this is very, very heavy. This is like up to 3 pounds. All right, so let's go over the knife a little bit first. Very robust. You still can snap this onto your M16. Had a couple different features on here. This notch I'll get into in a second. It's almost 1/4 of an inch thick, as you can see, and very, very sharp. So this is definitely a good field knife. Problem is, it's super heavy. This is that polymer Bakelite plastic, so you didn't have to worry about it, you know, getting messed up in the field, which was nice. Now let's look at the sheath itself. The sheath itself came in 2 versions. This is, again, is made by Ontario Knife Company. I think you could still purchase these. This was for your belt. So if you had a cartridge belt, you could snap this onto your cartridge belt and snap it off when you needed to put it somewhere else if you wanted to. They also had versions that didn't have this little clasp, and it was just one piece. All right, this is very, very heavy duty. Again, I think it's that fiberglass sheath. The idea behind having this right here was that you can use this as a wire cutter. All right, so that was kind of neat, and it also has like a screwdriver or pry bar there, and it also has more latching. A lot of the guys, especially the recon guys, what they would do is they would put some type of smoke or signal flare right here, so they had straps for that. And I guess the concept was good, but I want to be very, very honest with you, and I think that anybody that has served any time in the military understands that weight is a problem. All right, ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pain, and this thing is too much. It's just a beast. All right, so yeah, good field knife maybe if you're in the rear with the gear, but you know, traveling around with all your combat kit, you know, I carried 10 or 12 magazines plus M203 rounds, 40 mic rounds, plus I was also the radio guy, on top of my water, my chow, my flak. I mean, I had so much kit. This I didn't need an extra 3 pounds on my hip. All right, somewhere along the lines, they decided that this was the new hotness, And again, still going with that bayonet style knife. And this was actually a moderate improvement. All right, I do like the fact that they're still sticking with that K-bar style. It will still fit on your weapon, which is nice. And the handle went from plastic to rubber, which is also nice. And I think that was maybe designed, and if you guys know, put it in the comments below. I think the reason they designed this was if you were inside of a helicopter, which by the way, helicopters go down quite often, you would be able to cut through the fuselage and not cut anything electric. But again, if you're drowning or whatever the case is, I think that's the least of your problems. So this rubberized handle is really, really grippy. I like that. Again, carbon steel, and it is Parkerized. That's what I wanted to say before. It's the Parkerization on the bayonet. Parkerized seems to stand up pretty well, and this blade I had to purchase after. So the ones that they were issuing us had to go back to the armory. This one I purchased after I left because I liked it so much. I thought it was decent. Now again, what they did is they lightened up the sheath. It's just a very, very heavy duty plastic sheath. And what's cool is on the back of it, it does have a sharpening stone or a honing stone. So if you wanted to, you can keep your knife sharp. All right, you'll see in a lot of these things, especially survival knives, back in the day, like the Ontarios, that kind of thing. Pilot survival knife, there was always a stone. It kind of makes sense. Try cutting something with a butter knife. Be there all day. It did have a lot of the Molly, which was coming out, so you can see the transition from the Alice. All right, the Alice system to the new Molly system. So that was kind of neat. I did like that. We were all using Molly at this time. And again, I think you might still be able to buy these on the civilian market. Also, another thing they did with this is they added a little bit of, I want to say maybe metal or something to keep the knife in there, even with the straps that aren't. If the straps aren't on it, you could still keep it together. So it did have a friction fit. And again, you could also turn the knife. So if you were lefty or righty, you were able to put it in either way, which I thought was kind of smart, being that, you know, not everybody in the military is right-handed, although they want you to believe that. But I thought that was a really good option. A little bit heavy, but very, very functional. And I preferred this over this 100%. You got to understand, guys, most of the Marines that are in the field, what they're doing is they're digging fighting holes, they're filling sandbags, they're opening MREs, they're probably knife fighting each other, that kind of thing. So what you want to do is you want to have more of a field knife. Yes, there are guys in the field that have used their knife to end an enemy combatant, but that is very, very rare. Very rare. And a bayonet attack, very, very rare in this day and age. All right, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's very rare. Typically what I carried most of the time was just my USMC K-bar. All right, this thing's been around for a very long time. This is the regular traditional length. It's a 7-inch leather stacked handle, metal pommel, but it is a rat tail tang, sorry. So it's very thin, but very, very good knife. I've used this plenty of times in the field. Now, this one is brand new because what happens is with these leather sheets that you buy, they wear out. And the biggest problem with these leather sheets is the snap wears out. A branch or something comes along and it takes your knife, pulls it out, and just leaves it on the forest floor, where you'll never find it again, or luckily another Marine will pick it up and then you just gifted him a $70 K-bar. So that has happened to me once before. While I was in, I did get rid of this. I think Black Hawk makes a replacement sheath for this, which is outstanding. It's a little bit more designed of the Condora with an insert. And these leather sheets, although very nice and traditional, they will not hold up in the field. That's why this one's brand new. I had to replace my old one, and then again I moved on, so I didn't have to use it. But nothing wrong with the USMC K-bar. I highly recommend it. Anybody that's been in the field or bushcraft or whatever, it's a pretty decent knife, and it's not heavy, guys. It's not heavy for what it is. So when I lost my original K-bar, I went to this. This is one that I carried most often. And I think this is the D2 version of K-Bar. So this is a 1095 Crovan or whatever. It will rust. This one is D2, so it's semi-stainless. And as you can see, the sheath is made a little bit differently. All right, it does have a friction fit on it. This little piece right here, that's what that's for. All right, it actually holds the knife in without any strapping. And I carried this one the most just because it was waterproof and it did have a better sheath that came with it. I think I picked this one up at the PX. It was a little bit more expensive. Again, this will stand up to water a lot better. All right, rubber coated handle. And again, you're not going to go wrong. This does have serrations. I'm not a big fan of serrations, but again, this was kind of my go-to for a long time. It doesn't look all that dirty, but I cleaned it and kept it really nice and pristine as much as possible. All right. What I didn't like about this was this. All right. This is more of a jump style where you can strap this onto your kit and then wear it upside down. You can do that with this knife. I never wore my knives upside down, mostly because the heavy packs that we had to carry would interfere with a knife on your LBV or LBE. Okay, so what I would do is put this somewhere around my waist, all right? The only difference is this nylon strapping was kind of too flimsy, so it would just flop around a lot. But again, significantly better than the leather sheath. K-Bar did then come up with the Big Brother. I was not privy to using this. This one's brand new. I knew a couple Marines that got one of these, and again, for the size and weight, this is super lightweight. Considering how big it is, considering the length and the size, you get a lot more. Now, ideally, this is not to scare the boogeyman away. That's not what it was for, but this is more of a field knife, all right? What you would do with this, again, chop some trees, you know, bring up some brush, cut up some brush, try to build a sniper hide. You know, again, you could also put this into a bad guy, but weight is always an issue. And also the length of it is sufficient to, I wouldn't say it's a machete. I would definitely go with something like this as far as clearing brush, but this gave you a little bit more length on it. So it was really nice to have that. All right. The idea again was that the leather sheets, although they look nice and they're really stylish and they're very well done, would not hold up in a wet environment. So guys would go out and get either some type of nylon or maybe they would get you know, Kydex, if Kydex even was in. I don't even think Kydex was on the scene. It was mostly this injected stuff. Then I went to SOG products. I'm not a big fan of SOG products. I'll say that straight out. The knives are affordable. All right, the sheets are crap, in my opinion. They're not bad knives. I know this one's made in Taiwan, and they have a pretty decent product. The steels aren't that great. They make very fancy, pretty knives that, you know, the designs are great, but I don't know about the functionality. All right, I'm just not a big fan. Now, I did have a seal pup. I got rid of it. I traded it for something else. And then when I got back to the States, I got this, the SOG dagger. And when I got it, I kind of looked at it and I'm like, you know what? Ideally, it's a stabbing tool. All right, it doesn't do a lot of things. All right, it's almost like the Bayonet. I need a field utility knife, and although this does look nice, and although the sheath is made of Kydex, which is kind of nice, I never liked the clasp that came with it. This is a very, very genetic clasp that you're supposed to clip this out, and then it goes around your belt. But this whole big piece pushes this knife out, I don't know, about 3 inches. All right, I don't know if you want this knife 3 inches away from your body. It just doesn't seem right. What I would do is take all this off and then just, you know, maybe what I would do is I would take all of this off, get rid of it, make it lighter, and again, maybe use some 550 cord or zip ties or duct tape and then just bring it close. Again, this is not a field knife. It never was meant to be, but again, I just wanted to mention that, you know, if for those guys that like daggers, all right, ideally this is a combat knife, all right, but it doesn't do everything else very well. So one of the knives I picked up, which I really do like, was the ZT100. All right, this is a very, very at the time expensive knife. I think it's even serialized. Again, when you're making military money, it's not a lot of money. This is the CPM3V, serial number 2689. Really good steel. Really ergos are like beautiful. All right, so I think this is aluminum handle, and I started getting into folding knives, and it was really good. So this actually worked very well. The only difference is it's not a good field knife depending on what you're going to use it for. All right, so this will cut a lot of things. It will cut, jute, it will cut twine, it will cut 550, it will do all the things that you need it to do. This sweeping belly would be a little bit harder to sharpen. All right, you just have to be a little bit more careful on it. The sheath itself was adequate, but it's kind of funky. I don't understand the sheath. It does have a it does have a Kydex insert, which is nice, and it also does have a flap. So if you wanted to add some stuff in there, you could. But it was molly capable, so you could molly this to your gear if you wanted to. This strap right here, I believe, had 2 positions, which I didn't understand. So that position was great, but I didn't know what this other button was for, and I never figured it out because that other button doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Maybe it was to strap it around the back, but I don't know. But you could also put it on your belt. So, but this one I liked. I wasn't terrible. I did like the fact that it was ZT. ZT makes great products. They also make great folding knives. And for me, this was kind of like a go-to for a little bit. But again, it didn't have a lot of length on it. All right, so the length is kind of short. But again, some guys like that. Some girls like that. I don't know. But again, this was something that was very expensive for someone that makes military pay. And I didn't bring it out as much as I wanted to because I was afraid I was going to lose it. We're being honest here, right, guys? Some of the other things that I carried, this was a Colt Commander. I think you could still buy these. It was just a one piece. And it's a nice little 4-inch blade. Ideally, with all the holes and everything, it was very lightweight. It did give me good purchase, and it did everything I needed it to do. It's just a piece of steel that's very thin, coated. The sheath itself was sufficient. I think I made this like a boot knife. It doesn't have anything really holding it in except this strap. And it did come with shoelace. I wouldn't say this is 550 cord, but what a lot of guys did is they took this 550 cord or shoelace string, and they would wrap it around the handle just to make it a little bit more comfortable. Again, not the biggest knife to survive, not the biggest knife to defend your life with, but it would work in a pinch. And the fact that it was super light, and again, I think we used to have throwing competitions with this because it was all just one piece of steel. So if you wanted a decent semi-throwing knife that you didn't mind, and again, very cheap. All right, this was not expensive at all. I think it was like I paid $30 for it. So if I broke it or lost it, I didn't even give a crap. So, all right, and then the last, this was one of my, speaking of daggers, this was my push knife. I don't know if anybody saw the movie with Charlie Sheen, and they're in the bunker, and Barnes and him get into a brawl, and this is the knife that Barnes pulls on Charlie Sheen's character. These are no longer made. It is a push dagger made by Cold Steel. I did have this duct taped to my LBV, sort of like, how he did in the movie. You can call me, motivated or whatever, but I thought it was cool to have it there. It really didn't fall out. However, again, the leather started falling apart and my knife started moving, so I added a little bit of a zip tie. So the zip tie kind of held it in place. I could get a Kydex sheath now made, or I can make it myself, but I just wanted to keep with the nostalgia of it. And it did work. I mean, listen, this is a self-defense knife. This is not made for chopping up branches or trees or anything else. And it does look really cool on your LBV or LBE. So that's what it was for. If anything, this was the smallest knife that I ever carried on my shoulder strap, because again, once we put heavy packs on, I didn't want anything on my shoulder, so I had that. The last deployment fixed blade knife I carried was this one. I think this is the Gerber LMF. All right, of course I got it in Coyote because I'm a Marine, and it worked pretty good. it's a little handle heavy, which is okay, you know, especially in a cold weather environment. It does have that big breaker in the back. I don't think it's full tang at all. I think that there's it's, you know, comes up to here. It does have lanyard strapping holes if you wanted to make it into a spear, and the blade itself wasn't terrible. The sheath itself was very, very well done. I'm gonna say this is kind of what this was trying to make, and they made it in a smaller format, so good on you, Gerber. You can take all this out, and as you can see here, this is a knife sharpener. So if you needed to, all you had to do was put your knife in there, drag it along, and it would sharpen your knife. It also had a lot of latching points, which I liked. So if you wanted to take this off the MOLLE backing or the webbing, you could. All right, so yeah, and then on the back side you had the MOLLE attachments, which was nice, and very, very thick, very, very stout, and I like that a lot. All right, this black piece right here is your friction holder, your friction tensioner. So you actually didn't even need any of these. You didn't even need this, because trying to get this knife out is not easy. All right, I think they made this as a jump knife, in my opinion. I liked it because I knew I wasn't going to lose my knife, but I didn't like it because it was so damn hard to get the knife out that, again, if I had it on a loose belt or something like that, now I'm fighting with a couple of straps. But again, I knew I wasn't going to lose it, so it was good to go. And this was the last knife, fixed blade knife, that I used before I left my military service. All right, so the Gerber LMF. We'll talk a little bit about some tools and some folders. This was issued to us. This is the Gerber EOD version. All right, this is for C4, and they came in black. What we liked about these is that they were one-hand opening. All right, so if you needed to use this for blasting caps, it did come with a bunch of tools on it, which was kind of nice. So a file, saw, that kind of thing. I think you could still buy these. All right, this one has rust all over it because it's dirty. Screwdriver, that kind of thing. So this was more of an EOD tool, but I did buy the one that was, you know, just regular version of it, like the diesel or something like that. Gerber diesel is not that expensive. And then we all eventually went to Leatherman because, in my opinion, Leatherman is a superior product. So Gerber, it has a long-standing connection with the military. That's great. But this was, most guys just went with Leatherman. All right, Leatherman's a little bit more expensive, but you know, those are your tools, your life. You decide what you want to do. All right. As far as issued, Benchmade came into the field, and they issued a bunch of Benchmade knives that was specifically designed for the military service. It did come with a lot of the MOLLE connections that we asked for, which was nice. All right, if you were unlucky enough to get one of these, good luck trying to find it on the secondary market. This was in black, and it did come with the MOLLE strap. All right, so that's nice. You can put it on your gear, or you can use the clip. Heavy duty aluminum handle, and it is an auto, although it's not super hard. It's not a super fast auto, it's an auto. Okay, so one hand opening was something nice. It did have a little bit of a breaker in the back, so if you had to smack open things, you could do that. But a lot of guys didn't even use the pouch. You know, we just put it in our pocket, so that was nice. And then here's another Benchmade product, again in Coyote. All right, very heavy duty knife. All right, this one's made in D2. I forget the name of it. I'll annotate it. And it was good, but it was very chunky. Like, look at the size of that. That's super chunky. Very sexy knife. I bought this after because I couldn't get my hands on one of these. Everybody snapped them up as soon as they could. You know, and then I never got a chance to get one, so I had to buy it when I got back to the States. But again, comes with the same type of setup, which is nice. So you can have this on a quick draw snap, and it also came with Velcro. So if you wanted to Velcro it off like that and then have that set up in there, so it worked out pretty good. So, you know, really nice product. Listen, you know, Benchmade kind of shit the bed when they, you know, went woke or whatever the hell they did, cutting up guns. But, you know, all these companies that work in liberal cities now, you know, have to stay alive. But it is what it is. As far as pocket knives, this was one of the largest pocket knives I've ever seen in the military while I was active, and it's called the Gerber Applegate Fairbairn combat folder. And you know, Gerber makes it. You can still buy these, and it was just a large fixed blade knife. I think ideally, you know, most Marines, what they wanted to do was just have something very large in their pocket, so if they needed it to do survival tasks, or if they needed it for you know, self-defense, they could do that as well. And I carried this for a little bit. I did not like the fact that it was a tip up or tip down configuration, but I think you can change these. But in any case, I carried it for a little bit. I thought it was okay. It's not a huge pocket filler, but my go-to knife was my CRKT M16, or is it M16 or M14? I forget which one it is. This is a newer version of it. I believe this is the M16-14 David. All right. So this is the newer version, and this is the one that that I carried. All right. So this one I picked up in the PX. They're not very expensive. When I got back from Iraq, I actually called the company and asked if they wanted this knife back, because it served me very well, and I wanted them to do like a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of memorial, or maybe just, you know, hang on to it and just, you know, give their company a little bit of perks from a combat veteran. And the owner said, no, you know, thank you very much. Thank you for your service. Just keep it in your family, you know, and hand it down to your kids. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. As you can see, this was a tanto point, but I sharpened it so much that I rounded off the tanto tip. And this thing rode in my pocket for every single deployment. Okay, as you can see here, what it looks like. This is a newer, brand new one. This is the one that I used. And as you can see, with the tips themselves, they got quite rounded out. They did come up, this does have a lock on it if you wanted to play with the lock. That was never my thing. I think this is an auto lock. Is this an auto lock? Yeah, so this is an auto lock. They came up with the auto lock where it automatically engages once you flip it out. This happens to be in their version of Coyote. All right, it's a little bit more bronze than Coyote, but you know, I like the knife so much that I bought a new one. So I think they do very, very well, CRKT. All right, guys, let's go up top and finish up. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe. Add any comments down below. If you have your knife kits or the ones that you carried while you were deployed or overseas or in combat, please let me know. Semper Fi to all my Marines out there. Really appreciate any comments that you want to add. Please check out all the links in the description box. If you want to become a Patreon member, it only costs you $1 a month. Also, get on the mailing list. Go to 3 River Blades or 3 River Kydex. That's where I'm going to send all my discount codes. Go all the way down to the bottom, first name, last name, and your email address. You might have to double opt in, but that's where I'm going to send my discount code. So if you want discounts on my products, that's where you're going to have to get it. All right, thank you very much, guys, and as always, stay safe.